Video might leave you a little weary about riding buses. 1940s, 56-year-old James Tedford and his wife Pearl, who was exceptionally younger than him at the age of 28, lived in Vermont. They seemed to live a quiet and content life, and to outside peering eyes, they seemed to have no problems. But things would take a strange turn when World War II came looming around and James was called back for a second tour. While James was overseas, his wife remained at home with no known issues, no letters suggesting that anything would be different when he came back home. He would finish out the war with no injuries, but he would find something very surprising when he came back home. Upon returning home, everything seemed perfectly normal. Pearl was at home, they were happy, everything was quiet and as content as it ever was. But one day, James would come home and his wife would not be there. When she had now returned by late that evening, James began to worry. He started speaking with neighbors who said they had not seen her. So he decided to wait until morning to see if she returned. When she had not returned, he alerted the authorities. Upon looking into her disappearance, they found no trace of her, so they started to think that maybe she just ran off. But if she just ran off, why would she leave behind a half-prepared meal and no note saying where she was going or that she was sorry that she was leaving? The sudden vanishing of his wife Pearl left James in absolute shambles. He started isolating himself, wasn't talking to friends. He just was in a really deep depressive state. By 1947, James would move into a soldier's retirement home up in Bennington, Vermont. And the only time he would ever leave is to go visit some relatives up in northern Vermont. And this was a regular bus trip he took. He was quite used to the route. Despite it going through a bunch of wilderness, it was a perfectly safe trip that he made. In December of 1949, James would make this trip again to go visit his family for a few days. Upon his return trip, his family said he wasn't acting any differently, and the passengers said he wasn't acting erratic or anything like that. He was completely nondescript. They didn't really pay much attention to him. However, he would never return back to that retirement home. James did not return back to the retirement home on this bus trip. The authorities were alerted. They spoke with the bus driver and the passengers, and they could say that he was on the bus. His luggage and cash was there to prove it, and the seat he was sitting in still had his table pulled down. One passenger said that they had seen James sleeping soundly in his seat, but when they arrived at their destination, he simply just was not there, which was particularly odd considering the fact that they made no stops before reaching their destination. So how exactly did James disappear on a bus that was full of other passengers?